Attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference. Ability is what you're capable of doing. Motivation determines what you do. Attitude determines how well you do it. People may hear your words, but they feel your attitude. For success, attitude is equally as important as ability. Excellence is not a skill, it's an attitude. Adopting the right attitude can convert a negative stress into a positive one. Acting is magical. Change your look and your attitude, and you can be anyone. IT is in the character of very few men to honor without envy a friend who has prospered. Character is the result of two things: mental attitude and the way we spend our time. The attitude is very important because your behavior radiates how you feel. Attitude is everything. Time plays a role in almost every decision, and some decisions define your attitude about time. Morality is simply the attitude we adopt towards people whom we personally dislike. Take the attitude of a student. Never be too big to ask questions. Never know too much to learn something new. Happiness is an attitude of mind, born of the simple determination to be happy under all outward circumstances. Cock your hat. Angles are attitudes. Pink isn't just a color, it's an attitude. The meaning of things lies not in the things themselves, but in our attitude towards them. You know what's funny to me? Attitude. Bad attitudes will ruin your team. I think it's my adventure, my trip, my journey, and I guess my attitude is, let the chips fall where they may. Eagles come in all shapes and sizes, but you will recognize them chiefly by their attitudes. When you ain't got no money, you gotta get an attitude. The reactionary is always willing to take a progressive attitude on any issue that is dead. Weakness of attitude becomes weakness of character. Your attitude, not your aptitude, will determine your altitude. Reject your sense of injury and the injury itself disappears. A positive attitude can really make dreams come true. It did for me. The greatest discovery of my generation is that a human being can alter his life by altering his attitudes. Attitude determines the altitude of life. The secret of genius is to carry the spirit of the child into old age, which means never losing your enthusiasm. My attitude is, if someone's going to criticize me, tell me to my face. Wearing the correct dress for any occasion is a matter of good manners. Our attitude toward life determines life's attitude towards us. Choosing to be positive and having a grateful attitude is going to determine how you're going to live your life. It is not the body's posture, but the heart's attitude that counts when we pray. Attitudes are more important than facts. But the attitude of faith is to let go and become open to truth, whatever it might turn out to be. The ideal attitude is to be physically loose and mentally tight. Between stimulus and response, there is a space where we choose our response. Our environment, the world in which we live and work, is a mirror of our attitudes and expectations. Having a positive mental attitude is asking how something can be done rather than saying it can't be done. Good humor is one of the best articles of dress one can wear in society. What is pride? A rocket that emulates the stars. Most of us start out with a positive attitude and a plan to do our best. There are no menial jobs, only menial attitudes. Abhorrence of apartheid is a moral attitude, not a policy. Surfers have the most attitude. With my talent, I can make people laugh and give them another attitude about life. What a blessing that is for me. Coaches will eventually notice a great attitude, and they respect that. It is our attitude at the beginning of a difficult task which, more than anything else, will affect its successful outcome. Punk was defined by an attitude rather than a musical style. I was always the guy getting kicked out of my classes at school for having an attitude problem. Great effort springs naturally from great attitude. You cannot tailor-make the situations in life, but you can tailor-make the attitudes to fit those situations. If you're looking for can-do, earthy, crunchy attitude, then you've got to go to Wisconsin. The remarkable thing is, we have a choice every day regarding the attitude we will embrace for that day. But Jesus changes your attitude towards yourself and towards other people. When you pray for anyone, you tend to modify your personal attitude toward him. Style is a reflection of your attitude and your personality. Being sexy is all about attitude, not body type. It's a state of mind. Leadership is practiced not so much in words as in attitude and in actions. The greatest discovery of all time is that a person can change his future by merely changing his attitude. The only disability in life is a bad attitude. The greatest discovery of my generation is that man can alter his life simply by altering his attitude of mind. Civilization is a method of living, an attitude of equal respect for all men. If you get a diagnosis, get on a therapy, keep a good attitude, and keep your sense of humor. When you are thwarted, it is your own attitude that is out of order. Vanity can create a very cruel space for you if you don't know how to manage it. How do you nurture a positive attitude when all the statistics say you're a dead man? You go to work. Funny is an attitude. The biggest challenge is how to affect public attitudes and make people care. Our attitude towards others determines their attitude towards us. I am shocked by the easy attitude of many in the media towards disclosing our nation's secrets. Individuals need to be willing to face truth about their attitudes, behaviors, even what we want out of life. My attitudes have changed, but somebody would have to read all my books to find out how they have. Every baseball crowd, like every theater audience, has its own distinctive attitude and atmosphere. I think whether you're having setbacks or not, the role of a leader is to always display a winning attitude. If you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. Positive energy and attitude is sexy to me. Happiness doesn't depend on any external conditions. It is governed by our mental attitude. Positive attitude plus effort equals performance. When you view your world with an attitude of gratitude, you are training yourself to focus on the good in life. It takes hard work, dedication, discipline, and a positive attitude to get to the top, in business or in sports. I walk tall, I got a tall attitude. You can control two things, your work ethic and your attitude about anything. Fairness is not an attitude, it's a professional skill that must be developed and exercised. A positive attitude is something everyone can work on, and everyone can learn how to employ it. Being black is not a matter of pigmentation. Being black is a reflection of a mental attitude. A positive atmosphere nurtures a positive attitude, which is required to take positive action. Never walk into a hospital crying. Have an attitude that you will make someone else's life better. People have often asked if I'm gay because I don't go out of my way to spit and scratch and give people attitude. My attitude is, a monument, a statue, ought to signify unity instead of division. You need to have a can-do attitude. There is always a way. A person should have positive attitude in his life, and it will thus reflect on a healthy lifestyle. No rational argument will have a rational effect on a man who does not want to adopt a rational attitude. The purely agitational attitude is not good enough for a detailed consideration of a subject. When a parent shows up with an attitude of entitlement, understand that under it is a boatload of anxiety. Entrepreneurship is not only about starting businesses, but is an attitude to life. A healthy attitude is contagious, but don't wait to catch it from others. A strong positive mental attitude will create more miracles than any wonder drug. You can call it what you want. Bad attitude, immature. You can say, he's a thug, but I'm a competitor. Always have an attitude of gratitude. Attitude is attitude. Whether you're a West Coast gangster or East Coast gangster, you know. If you can't change your fate, change your attitude. Watch out for the joy stealers, gossip, criticism, complaining, fault-finding, and a negative, judgmental attitude. All I can control is myself and just keep having a positive attitude. My attitude is never to be satisfied, never enough, never. Control what you can control. I can control my emotions, my attitude, my effort every day. Each day, I come in with a positive attitude, trying to get better. When I pray, I always thank Mother Nature for all the beauty in the world. It's about having an attitude of gratitude. The higher the better. It's more about an attitude. High heels empower women in a way. Negative attitude is 9 times more powerful than positive attitude. The ABCs are attitude, behavior, and communication skills. I am just as comfortable in sweats and sneakers as I am in a dress and heels. Attitude is everything. You need an attitude of service. You're not just serving yourself. You help others to grow up and you grow with them. I have my own stubborn attitude about how I want to play and where I want to go. Solidarity is an attitude of resistance, I suppose, or it should be. I believe I have the attitude of a champion and a winner, and I'm not apologetic for it. At home in Ireland, there's a habit of avoidance, an ironical attitude towards the authority figure. Anything can happen, so you have to control your attitude and stay strong. Age and size are only numbers. It's the attitude you bring to clothes that make the difference. Mental attitude and concentration are the keys to pitching. We need the right attitude and the right motivation. That can decide the match above everything else. Attitude is your acceptance of the natural laws, or your rejection of the natural laws. I love everybody. One of the great things about me is that I have a very positive attitude. Your attitude is contagious. There is definitely something sexy about a girl with an attitude and a pair of leather pants. Literature is dangerous. It awakens a rebellious attitude in us. All punk is his attitude. That's what makes it, the attitude. The accounting of the sacrifices, more than anything else, the attitude toward war memorials in our time. Creativity is not talent but attitude. Pessimism only describes an attitude, and not facts, and hence is entirely subjective. My attitude is always one of sensuality, aggressive enthusiasm, and a kind of outrageousness in my expression. All we need, really, is a change from a near frigid to a tropical attitude of mind. The attitude and identity that we want to play with doesn't change. Beauty for me is the attitude behind something, but my ideals of beauty are rather different. You don't have to watch Gossip Girl to have an attitude. I liked painting and drawing, and I liked humanities mainly, poetry, literature, this speculative attitude toward life. I don't have an overabundance of cocky attitude, because I'm collaborative. We never quit. My mom instilled that attitude in us, that never quit, never surrender. A discipline I have observed is an attitude of love and reverence to people. Vince McMahon became a billionaire based on attitude, and attitude was spawned by the ECW experience. Nonviolence is a permanent attitude we bring to the breakfast table and bring to bed at night. The only reason to have a positive mental attitude is that it makes life better. It doesn't cure cancer. Bambi can't act. Bambi had major attitude. In every country I've gone to, if you smile at people, they are going to be happy. This is my attitude. I had to create some good work habits and attitude. Before Gangnam Style, I was not a good attitude artist. Listen, whatever makes the movie better, that's the attitude you have to have. I have a very negative attitude toward business and businessmen. A period of detention in a chilly upstate facility can be a great attitude adjuster. What sculptors do is represent the essence of gesture. What is important in mime is attitude. My confidence never gets crushed. Whatever happens, my attitude doesn't change. You do manage a somewhat religious attitude toward your art. It is a calling rather than a job. I still have a young attitude. My attitude is one movie at a time. I don't want to get ahead of myself. If a person can be said to have the wrong attitude, there is no need to pay attention to his arguments. You've got to have the same attitude each day. You've got to show up to work. I don't think punk ever really dies, because punk rock attitude can never die. I don't think it's a good attitude in your life to feel that you have to be rich to have self-esteem. My parents have a strong work ethic, but their attitude to life, their philosophy, is whatever makes you happy. Being a sex symbol has to do with an attitude, not looks. Most men think it's looks. Most women know otherwise. I have always had a mystical attitude toward inspiration. That's my nature. I think Messi's is a fantastic attitude and should be the mentality that all top players in the world should adopt. The characteristic political attitude of today is not one of positive belief, but of despair. Bader's philosophy was my philosophy. His whole attitude to life was mine. You can pull off anything if you have the right attitude. Being cool is whatever you think it is. Own your style. You lose attitude when you feel too comfortable, so I prefer to wear clothes that have a certain edge to them. It's not too good to have this attitude in F1. It could be a disadvantage. Sales are contingent upon the attitude of the salesman, not the attitude of the prospect. Today's youth are told to get rich or die trying, and they really shouldn't take that attitude forward with them. My first feeling about the paper and the attitude is that it is absurd. But I do think that we approach music, in of itself, with a religious attitude. For a writer, only one form of patriotism exists: his attitude toward language. I have tried to have a really good, positive attitude. I like to say it's an attitude of not just thinking outside the box, but not even seeing the box. Out here in California, in the Pacific Ocean, the sharks have a bad attitude. I love women with attitude. I think my attitude has always been to put food on the table. Patton was living in the Dark Ages. Soldiers were peasants to him. I didn't like that attitude. You can't beat the beehive for glam punket attitude. I have a very childish attitude to books, a very non-analytic enthusiasm, like Alice falling down the chute. The problem was just a mean attitude that festers and has to be challenged. Psychographics speaks more to an attitude, a lifestyle. I was impressed by Hendrix. His attitude was brilliant. Even the way he walked was amazing. I'm taking a bit of a wait and see attitude towards 3D. Muslims have a very bad attitude to homosexuality. They're very intolerant. Iraq is just a symbol of the attitude of Western democracies to the rest of the world. Whenever I'm having a bad day and have an attitude, I stay home. I keep it at home. Could we change our attitude, we should not only see life differently, but life itself would come to be different. I'm allergic to attitude. I like grown-up comedy, where it's about character and attitude in life as opposed to obvious gross-out in jokes. I have always detested any departure from reality, an attitude which I relate to my mother's poor mental health. That attitude toward women as objects may have worked for the late 60s, but it doesn't do so now. Our attitude is that we want to cross over. You can't go on making records just for your own hometown. I used to burn rubber at every light, mean mugging everything there was, 'cause that was my attitude. There has been a change in attitude, though. There is an attitude that Okinawans have about Japan itself. There is a resentment. What reader wants to be told what attitude to strike? Virtually nothing is impossible in this world if you just put your mind to it and maintain a positive attitude. I had a real bad attitude after my dad passed of liver cancer. I was 9, and we were really close. I don't think people are fools, and I think they deserve a good attitude and smart entertainment. I don't mean this in a stuck-up way, but I needed an attitude song. Conor McGregor has that fight anybody, anywhere attitude, but doesn't just have the attitude, he lives it. I don't have a very positive attitude towards rappers. Success or failure in business is caused more by the mental attitude even than by mental capacities. The war changed everybody's attitude. We became international almost overnight. I have an attitude. It's what I do. I'm edgy. I have an attitude. Nobody minded what you did in bed or what you said about God. a very civilized attitude in 1948. Spend some time this weekend on home improvement. Improve your attitude toward your family. You may not be able to change a situation, but with humor you can change your attitude about it. What was past was past. I suppose that was the general attitude. And the attitude of faith is the very opposite of clinging to belief, of holding on. Our new attitude is, how can we put you in front of our customer? I need that aggressive attitude to play my music, and more men have that attitude than women. But I think bands that rolled in with a big attitude, like they were some big deal, I just found that very strange. If you try to come off as this big-time star with an attitude, people don't like that. If a site is done with pleasure and a fun attitude, it's a great way to communicate with your fans. If you take going to the bench as a demotion or something that's terrible, you start with a bad attitude. Maybe the Burberry woman is undefinable. I think it's less about what she looks like and more about an attitude. The reality is, I'm not this person with this driving get-it-done attitude. If a person gets his attitude toward money straight, it will help straighten out almost every other area in his life. Yes, we're still 5 little people with a noisy attitude. We awaken in others the same attitude of mind we hold toward them. Innate, the proper attitude is one omitting gratitude. I think I have a mental mappy attitude. I love the body language of the women cricketers and the attitude with which they carry themselves. My dad's always had an unbelievable, positive attitude about everything. The single biggest surprise about arriving to the Senate is the defeatist attitude here. But I was club captain at Leeds, club captain at Fulham. If you've got a bad attitude, you're not getting those honors. I'm not anti-fashion, but I've always had a bit of a punk attitude. That's important. I think I do my own thing. Athletic competition clearly defines the unique power of our attitude. Your attitude towards failure determines your altitude after failure. I just really think every job I do, I get this gypsy attitude to money. You can't study comedy. It's within you. It's a personality. My humor is an attitude. So much of sport is that mental attitude. Children have adopted a consumerist attitude. I dare you to entertain me. The dolls were an attitude. If nothing else, they were a great attitude. Bruce Lee took his craft very seriously, just as my dad took his stuff very seriously. I just loved Lee's attitude. I had an attitude problem when I was a kid. I'm not gonna lie. I've always been that person. If it gets into my head, I've got to do it until I get it perfect. A perfectionist's attitude. The word spinster tells you everything you need to know about our attitude of women who choose not to marry. For me, music is all about emotion and attitude. Cheney, Rumsfeld, they were Shakespearean in their attitude of impunity. Bob Altman had this relaxed but serious attitude. Everybody loved him. I wanted him to adopt me. I think my attitude to human beings has changed since leaving prison. There's always been something deeply disturbing about the Abbott government's attitude to women. France has been very good for me. It has given me a very worldly, cool attitude. It got very tedious saying the same jokes in the same way with the same attitude. Always keep that happy attitude. Pretend that you are holding a beautiful, fragrant bouquet. When you have vision, it affects your attitude. Your attitude is optimistic rather than pessimistic. I know I've had an attitude that can explode, but I'm trying my best to not step out of bounds. Refuse to be a lazy Christian and resist a passive, apathetic attitude. I'm not a music lover in the sense that I look for something to have on. I've never had that attitude to music. You can have a laugh in Los Angeles, or you can weep in Los Angeles, depending on your attitude towards it. Being a part of SKECHERS is exciting. It is such a hip company with a great attitude and image. The 20s have this sort of attitude where you never know what's around the corner. The purely agitation attitude is not good enough for a detailed consideration of a subject. I've always been the girl with a go-getter attitude. Elvis Costello had a brand new bag. He was a musician, but he knew all about the attitude part of it. I thought one should have the attitude of what do you care what other people think. I really believe you can predict when someone has a great attitude, a real well of talent. I can only control myself, my actions, my work ethic, and my attitude. You don't have to have an attitude if you're famous. Just because you're a luxury brand doesn't mean you have to have an attitude. I was kicked out of school because of my attitude. I was not assimilating, so I went to work, taking any jobs I could get. I was bringing my attitude as a regular person cause this is my attitude. I'm optimistic Hong Kong will achieve universal suffrage, no matter the attitude of Beijing. It's better for me to play with guys because rock and roll has such an aggressive attitude. Foreign football is different and it has helped me evolve and mature, improving my attitude. I had an attitude about some work, like television sitcoms. It was selling your soul. People in tough times, it doesn't mean they don't have a great attitude. My attitude is, do as much as I can while I'm free, and if I'm arrested I'll still do as much as I can. People have ignored me in the past, thinking that I probably had an attitude, and I couldn't break that perception. The political parties who prefer lockdowns should end their politics that is based on negative attitude. Rock and roll is not just a fashion statement, it is the attitude, and it has a political posturing as well. For me, bomber jackets are smart, but they are also street and have a lot of attitude. I'm from New York. You walk by, you bump somebody and they give you a look. There's always an attitude. Beyonce is one of my inspirations. Her attitude, her style, her voice, she's perfect. Our spiritual attitude is determined by our conception of our relation to infinite spirit. With his incredible attitude, with his incredible winning mentality, Cristiano Ronaldo is a unique player. I'm definitely somebody who wants a college degree. My attitude is, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to go full in. The pool is terrible, but that doesn't have much to do with my record swims. That's all mental attitude. On the X-Files, our attitude always was respect the audience. Even when I'm playing someone named Fat Amy, I'm all about confidence and attitude. Dada was an extreme protest against the physical side of painting. It was a metaphysical attitude. I look at Jagger and the like, and if I see a good attitude, I'll admire it, but I wouldn't copy their style. I just want to go in with the right attitude and from day one make a difference. Choosing an attitude of faith will release peace out of your spirit and into your soul. Donald Evans is a favorite person of mine. His work ethic, his attitude, and his dedication really set him apart. I've been fired 5 times for having a bad attitude. The music is first and foremost everything. No egos, no attitude, nothing. It's about the music. I like my hair long, and I love my bangs. I love them because I can pin them back or keep the fringe with attitude. I am a Piscian, and they have a lovingly detached attitude towards life. You want the players in the locker room to know you as that kid that fights till the end, has that never say die attitude. I try and have a relaxed attitude and stay quite switched off until about an hour before kickoff. I also had a mistaken attitude towards certain comrades. Everybody seems to be wasting their time online. There is such a narcissistic attitude. It's such a strange world. Hollywood's a very weird place. I think there's less of everything except for attitude. Even as a little child, I've always had that comedian kind of attitude. I just want to be remembered as one of the toughest champions with his own attitude. An American orchestra doesn't want to play more than it has to. I respectfully disagree with that attitude. I will not get very far with this attitude. I have a political attitude, but I'm certainly not a politician. You can measure a programmer's perspective by noting his attitude on the continuing vitality of FORTRAN. How can any person with a myopic view and harboring intense parochial attitude even think of leading the nation? I kind of resent this attitude of men that we somehow must always look good. I love a woman with a relaxed attitude. The place of chess in this society is closely related to the attitude of young people towards our game. It is important to have the attitude and self-confidence to be Barca's goalkeeper, and that I've got. The American attitude towards efficiency and execution should always underlie architecture. What a stupid attitude we have in this country to personal stories. I truly love Australia. I miss Aussie kids and their attitude. Tommy Aaron taught me how to have a good attitude, to be easygoing and not get uptight. It can be easy to buy into anything. I would lose focus if I went with that attitude of wanting to be famous. It's not the style that motivates me as much as an attitude of openness that I have when I go into a project. I think that major championships are as much about attitude as they are anything else. I do not share the half-in, half-out attitude to the EU of some in Britain. Britain's place is in Europe. The directors I respect are the ones who have a collaborative attitude, who collaborate with actors. Stiletto, I look at it more as an attitude as opposed to a high-heeled shoe. When you're going out with the attitude that you want to win, you can't get caught up in the style of play. Only one thing can conquer war, that attitude of mind which can see nothing in war but destruction and annihilation. But having said that, there's also a sea change in attitude towards media. I always had the attitude that I wanted to throw a no-hitter every game. I don't reflect much, unless I'm talking to the media. I have more of a forward, march kind of attitude. I've always considered myself to be fiercely patriotic. I love Britain, its history and the down-to-earth attitude people have. I have a saddened and weakening attitude toward the media and press. My attitude toward men who mess around is simple. If you find him, kill him. You can't be a crazy rebel in the face of death. It's not a fitting attitude. If you want my personal attitude, I would tell you that I don't care about a person's sexual orientation.